I want you to cut the noise and start dopamine fasting. Cut everything, all right? You gotta cut everything. All right, so this is what I want you to do. I want you to reset your mentality of everything, all right? Everything. Forget about all the noise, all right? You've watched all these YouTube videos, you've watched everything, listened to everyone, you have all this noise in your head. You can't find yourself because you have all this noise, all right? This person tells you to do this, and this other person tells you to do this other thing, and you feel confused because these two are, incompatible. So you get confused, stop getting confused, start doing this. You cut everyone else's time, you give yourself all the time in the world, all right? All the time for yourself, all right? Let's first start with that. Then you will have other stuff, but let's first start with this, all right? Do this. I'm gonna give you things to do and things not to do, all right? Everything that is important to you, you will do. And everything that is not truly, deeply important to you, you will not do, all right? This is what's not important to you. Watching motivational videos on YouTube. This is unnecessary, all right? You don't need motivation. You don't need more research. You need to do things. That's everything you need to do, all right? This is what you need. Cut all the noise. You have all this noise. You have watched so many videos. You have watched all these people, all this advice, everything. You don't need more. You don't need anything more. You have everything you need. You don't need anything. Do you think Leonardo da Vinci watched YouTube videos and asked for motivation? No, he didn't need motivation. He was his own motivation. He was his own motivator. He motivated himself all the time. The same with Nietzsche, the same with every single great person in history. If you want to be a great person, you have to learn to not just live with yourself, but live with, start forcing yourself, be your own force, not forcing yourself, but becoming your own force. All right, so you need to start dopamine fasting, all right? You need to cut everything. There are basically two ways, there is soft dopamine fasting and there is hard dopamine fasting. Hard dopamine fasting is unnecessary because you can do that on weekends, but that is, that's a dry fast. You don't eat, you don't do anything. You don't even create your own things. So that's a hard dopamine fasting. But we're going to talk about soft dopamine fasting today. You're only allowed this. You're only allowed this. You're only allowed to work on yourself. For example, you're allowed to train. You're allowed to build muscles because this will give you confidence and everything else. You're allowed to drink water. You're allowed to only eat a clean diet, only whole foods, only fruits. Fruits are the only sweet thing that you can eat. Carrots, you're only allowed to eat carrots, fruits, meats, eggs, organs. You're only allowed to eat these things. Perhaps even, fermented foods if you want to, you don't have to. You can have vegetables if you want to, you don't have to. That's that, all right? You can meditate as well. You're allowed to meditate for 20 minutes, 30 minutes every day. You don't have to meditate all the time, but you're only allowed to meditate breathing technique meditations. For example, Vipassana, Dzogchen. You're not allowed to do, imagery meditation because this gives you too much, It's fine in terms of inspiration, but it's better you walk outside, you get inspiration that way for your work, whatever that work is, for creative things. So what you're allowed to do is you can write down your notes, your ideas, You can write down, you can take a walk and write down your notes, write down your ideas. You're only allowed to work on your task, whatever this is. For example, if you always have this nagging thing behind you, you know, let's say you have this book that you haven't quite finished yet, or haven't started, but you always wanted to start this book. You're allowed to start this book, and you're only allowed to start with this book. You're only allowed to do this, all right? That's the only thing you're allowed to do, all right? Working on yourself, of course, but also because that is your, you know, core, your foundation. But you're also your task, because without your task, that is the extension of you, you know, that is your legacy. Whatever it will become, that is you, it is part of you as well, your work. So you're allowed to do these two things, only these two things: working on yourself, your task. That's it, all right? And that's 6 days on the week, and then Saturdays, you're allowed to take a rest from everything except the food. You never, you know, you gotta cut all the garbage foods. You have to do this. You have to do this. That's a no-brainer. I'm not gonna allow, you know, junk food ever. I'm never going to allow that. That is never, because it's not healthy. It will never be healthy. It cannot ever be healthy. All right. And when you do this, you will feel much more active. You will feel much better, especially in the beginning. Most people who haven't done anything, you know, they haven't worked on themselves at all. When you start out, even, you know, if you try keto diet or, you know, paleo or something like that, you immediately feel more energized because of this, because you've overworked your dopamine centers, and, you know, your hormones are messed up. Your hormones are messed up. You got to fix yourself. But this is how you fix yourself. So you're not allowed to read the news. You're not allowed to read the news. I still haven't read the news, by the way. It's March, and I haven't read, you know, January, February. I have no idea what's happening, because I'm only focusing on my work, on finishing my book, on finishing my courses, on finishing whatever it is my task is. And you will be ahead, because you will find your own rhythm of life. You won't have to, it doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't have to be boring, because you will find your way. You can see yourself as a drop falling, you know, on waters, and then creating, you know, patterns. And it's not the same each and every day, but you will become this, you know, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about this. This pattern will just repeat itself each and every day, but you improve your pattern, your rhythm of life, all right? That is the whole purpose here. And so you cut out everything, all right? Even you can't be at events and also finish a book, all right? You can't be partying and also finish that book. You can't do both. You have to sacrifice something. Something has to sacrifice. Sacrifice your lower desires. I know for a fact that writing that book is your higher desire, because it's nagging you behind here in your subconscious, unconscious, whatever we want to call this, you know, the beneath layer in your mind, the layer beneath, you know, always nagging, this inner voice. It stops nagging you once you start doing it, and also start cutting everything else, all right? You gotta distance yourself from everyone else. If you don't distance yourself from all of these people, even your heroes, even, you know, anyone, you cannot ever create your own. You cannot ever find your own voice. You will always, you know, create mediocrity. So we don't want to create mediocrity either, you know. It's not just a book, all right? This book should mean the meaning of life. This book should have a meaning after your death. That is how important this book should be, all right? This is how important the book should be. I'm giving meaning into this work, this book, and then when people read it, they will either, you know, those who are greats, they will accept it, they will understand, you know, a deeper meaning in life, it will grow in them, and that is how you extend yourself into others. That is how meaning becomes even more meaningful, because you have all these layers. Imagine 10,000 people reading my book, then it is 10,000 times more of meaning, because I've given meaning to these people. I've given a meaning to these people. You can also call it value. Some people call it value, but value, it is a value, it is a meaningful thing, you know. It is deeper, because values can, you know, change and be almost anything, while meaning, this deep meaning, cannot be anything. It has a certain, you know, a certain spirit. It has been the same almost forever, all right? And that is the deeper meaning in life. That is, you know, health and, you know, the developing of the character and the core, all right? So you see, you have to work on this, and you have to cut out everything that not just bothers you, but, you know, delays you, procrastinates you further. But this doesn't mean that we're making excuses here. It is your own fault here. You're allowing others to take your time. So we're not excusing other people. We're taking our own responsibility here. It is your own fault. It is my own fault if I waste time on anything, on videos, on, you know, anything. I'm not gonna give you any room to just lay down, all right? Stillness is death, motion is life. You gotta move, you gotta change, you gotta do that. You gotta, you know, it's not about stress, it's about, you know, it's about your purpose in life. It's about your being a force in life. So you gotta move, and don't worry about perfection. Do not worry about perfection, but find your ways. Write your first draft, then second draft, and then third draft, you know, read it out loud and so forth. Do all these things and, you know, perfect it. But then, you know, once it feels good, once it feels, all right, now I have something, all right, now we can send it, publish it, whatever it is, you know, we send it to the world, then we send it to the world. And once we've sent it to the world, you know, we work on whatever it is to get attention for this thing. But, you know, if it has true meaning, if the work has true meaning, it will find the audience, it will find, you know, people who care. Because if it doesn't, it just means that you might actually, you know, you're working for eternity here. We're working for eternity here. We're not working for just, you know, the moment. We have the moment as well, but we're not just working for the moment. We're working for eternity, because we want to have a deeper still meaningful life that is, you know, beyond ourselves. And that's the only way you can go beyond yourself, because, you know, your creation is an extension of you, and by definition, beyond yourself. You have the book, you have yourself, you have the book. It's your extension. You have yourself, you have your video, that's the extension. You have yourself, you have your business, that's your extension. You're helping others, you're entertaining others, you're making them more, you know, giving them more meaning. But when you're entertaining, when I'm talking about entertaining others, become the greatest in entertainment then. You know, become the greatest artist. Become not just, don't settle with mediocrity. Become the greatest at this. The greatest. Because becoming the greatest is greater health. We always strive for greater health here, or the greatest health, the highest of heights, finding your truest self, your full potential. You know, people call this a billion names. It's not about the name, all right? It's not about the name. It's not about the motivation. It's not about anything except action and direction. Except taking action, completing it, publishing it, move on. Action, work on it, publish it, finish it, move on. Always the same, always the same. So you're not allowed to read the news, you're not allowed to check Instagram, you're not allowed to use Snapchat, you're not allowed to like anything, you're not allowed to do anything. I don't allow you to do anything except working on yourself, which means diet, sleep, exercise, meditation, that's fine. And your task, which means your work, whatever your creative work is. If it's creating a book or, whatever it is, you work on this, all right? Whatever it is, you work on this only, these two things only. And you figure out your morning routine, your, when is, should I train in the morning? Is this the best way for me? You find the joy in all of these things. So if it's not joyful, even in struggle, it has to be joyful in struggle, all right? For example, I trained today, doesn't matter if it's rainy, it's raining, it's slippery, and I still did push-ups on a tree and also in the playground. I always do this. It doesn't matter if it's raining, if it's snowing, if it's lava. It doesn't matter if it's tornadoes. I would still do it, all right? I would still go out there in the tornado and, imagine this person walking up Mount Everest. You have all these icy cold winds. You can barely breathe. And he's still working there. He's still, moving forward to the top because that's his destination. He will be alone there, but he will love it, all right? That is true love. That is true love. Everything else is just nothing. And that is true spirituality as well. Everything else is nothing. Everything else is mediocre. Everything else is just cozy. Everything else is just comfort zone. Everything else is just lazy. Everything else is everything else. You see everything else, but then you have the few there. But so it's super important that you cut out things that just pulls you down. Everything that pulls you down, cut it out. And if you're not sure what it is, think of it, write it down, but don't just write down things all the time. Just write this once, then throw that paper away. Don't get attached to any papers, anything. You don't get attached to anything, all right? You can throw away anything here. I can throw away anything here, and I don't care. I only need my body, my brain. I only need, a pen somewhere or, a computer somewhere to write, and that's it, or not even write. I need a camera, express myself, and nothing else. Or, I only need my body. I can train someone, and that's it. There are so many ways I can say this, but you only need your body, some externals, and that's it. You don't need anything else. You don't need all these clothes. You don't need anything. You don't need anything. You barely need any chairs. You shouldn't even have chairs. We should just stand up all day long, be outside. That's actually the best thing we could do, but most people can't do this. But who cares about most people? Who cares about most people? I don't care about most people. I only care about the greats. I only care about getting up that mountain and just, not just succeeding, but just loving the greatness at top, loving it, loving the mountain, loving that I climbed it, loving that I'm there, loving that I'm going down as well, and then going perhaps back up again, and so forth. Loving the process, each and every step. I love every step up the mountain. I love every step. Doesn't matter if it's raining, if it's ice, wind, doesn't matter. I just love it. So you gotta cut out all the noise. You have to cut out all the noise There's so much noise there. All these people have these opinions of what life is, but you have your own criteria of what life is. And so start doing that instead. Start doing that instead. Don't need anything or anyone. You see, I understand exactly who you are. Here's a perfect thing that you can apply right now, all right? I see some of you people have 1 billion YouTube channels, following 1 billion YouTube channels. Start thinking of which ones are most meaningful to me, which ones are the greatest, and not necessarily most popular. Not popular. I'm not talking about popularity, and I'm not saying this just for myself because of the low, subscribers I have. All right, that's not the reason why I'm saying this. Because I did this myself, and I kept the unique, the smaller channels, the great ones. And so in calisthenics, for example, I kept that. And in fasting and diet, I kept that. I kept all the core things I understood that was to my health, to the betterment of myself, so to speak. It's not technically a betterment. I will make a video about, improvement. There is no such thing as improvement. There is only going from one desire to the next and the higher desire and killing off the lower desires. That is exactly what dopamine fasting is, killing off the lower desires. You stop eating, snacks. You stop eating, potato chips and all that nonsense. You start eating what's higher, you all know instinctively what you have to do. Every single person knows this. It's just that you got to take the step to do this. And it's easy to say, take the step, but it's even, if you have an issue, health issue, now those people are much more, motivated. Perhaps you even have to become sick before you do something. And it's never too late. You have dry fasting, you can fast. All right, it's never too late. You can always heal yourself. The body can heal itself. So there is always hope. You never have to worry. When you master fasting, you don't have to worry about anything at all. You can survive in the wilderness. No one else can survive in the wilderness like you can. So you cut out all the nonsense. You keep only YouTube channels that you like. But you cut out all news, all right? You cut out everything that has to do with politics and nonsense. You cut out everything, every podcast that has to do with this. You cut out every podcast, actually you don't need any podcast. I don't understand why people need podcasts. You have all these billion podcasts. I promise you, once you stop listening to all these podcasts, you won't ever think of them again. They're all useless. It's all just a waste of time or temporary, a dopamine kick. It's a temporary pleasure. But we're not for temporary pleasure here. We're for long-term pleasure. And so that means, basics, but basics we love. You see, Epicurus there, he was correct. Epicurus was correct. It's about simple. You love the simple. You love, meats, fruits, but that's it. You don't need all this candy, you don't need it. You have the fruits for that, You don't need anything except that. That is all you need. That is all you need to have joy in everything. Perhaps you don't even need the fruits. Some people don't even need that. You can just eat meat. So, all right. So you cut everything. Cut everything. When I say everything, I truly mean everything, almost everything. All right. Accept yourself and your task. That's it. Accept yourself and your task. Yourself and your task. Only those two things. That's it. That's it. You delete all the apps. You delete Instagram. You delete Snapchat. You delete Facebook. You delete Twitter. You delete everything. You can keep YouTube if you want to, but you can even delete YouTube. As long as you're listening to these words and applying what I'm saying here and focusing on yourself and your task. That's it. You can use YouTube. Actually, all these tools are not bad. The problem is you can't control yourself. So YouTube is the best because it's about tools a lot, you know. But we have all these, you know, billion videos on tools and what to do, but you're not applying any of it. You're not applying any of it because you're not applying any of these 10 tips this and 8 tips this and 5 steps to this. You're not applying any of it because you're never working on yourself. You're just procrastinating watching these things. So you become the meta procrastinator instead of the meta creator. You're the meta. We're almost always the meta, you know? I wonder if people understand what I'm saying when I say meta. All right, so like I said just now, instead of doing the tools that you're watching, instead of, you know, you watch it and you start applying it. Instead of that, you instead just watch this and then you go watch the next and the next and the next, and then, or perhaps the next day, maybe you watched it last night, but then the next day you never applied it the next day. You never applied it, and that's why it doesn't work, because you never apply anything. You have to apply some things. I'm not saying you should apply everything because of all the noise. You have so many tips and tricks out there, but there is no point in this, all right? You only need basics. You only need basics. You only need the basics, all right? There is nothing complicated with working out. You work out, all right, every day. In the beginning, if you're a beginner, you work out every day. You can take Saturdays off after 6 months, but in the beginning, you work out every day. If you haven't worked out, if this is the first year you're working out, you're allowed to take rest days after 6 months. All right, that's it. After 6 months, then you rest every Saturday. After 6 months, you rest every Saturday. But right now, you train every single day. I don't care if your muscles are sore. I don't care any of it, because you gotta get into this mentality. In the beginning, you truly have to have this strong mentality of just keep on going. Otherwise, you will lose the training routine, or you know, your whatever it is, your morning routine, which is training, or meditation routine. Your training is much more important than meditation. Your training and diet, number one things, and sleep, of course, but they will be affected. Sleep will be affected by diet and exercise. So you just focus on diet and exercise yourself, all right? That's it. That's it. Everything else, you're not allowed to do anything else. So, and when you work on your test, let's say you're writing a book then. If you want inspiration, so this is the only thing I'm gonna allow. So for example, if you're writing a book, you can go outside, take some inspiration from nature. You take a notebook with you, wherever you are. You might even wanna go to a cafe and watch people and get some inspiration that way. Or, you know, like I said, nature, go to the ocean, go to a forest, do all these things. Or, you know, but make sure to watch these animals. Watch the animals, watch, you know, stones, grass, trees, bushes, everything, insects, everything. And also, I'm going to allow you to read. So reading is allowed, but only read things that matter to you and only matter to your task, all right? Let's say you're writing fantasy novel. Let's say you're writing a fantasy novel. You're allowed to read Lord of the Rings, for example. You're allowed to read, you know, Harry Potter. You're allowed to read these. Whatever it is, whoever it is within this genre or within this thing you want to create. It might be a philosopher or someone else, you know, something else. You're allowed to read that, right? For example, if I'm writing a philosophical book, it's a philosophical fiction, let's say, you're still allowed to read Nietzsche, for example. But you're not allowed to read about Nietzsche. I'm not allowing you that. You have to read the primary source. That's the only thing I'm going to allow here. Because everything else teaches you laziness, all right? Not just laziness. Everything else teaches you surface level things. It teaches you comfort, and it teaches you, like I said, surface level. We don't want surface level. Surface level gets you mediocrity, all right? Everyone can see the ocean. Everyone can see the top of the ocean, but almost no one can see the depths, all right? No one goes to the depths. Almost no one has seen the depths. Only the greats have seen the depths. And only the greats have seen the heights. So you see, the greats have seen the heights and the depths, and the most great have seen both. And that's why I speak of Nietzsche as one of the greats. Because I can see that he's seen both, because otherwise he couldn't have written Thus Spoke Zarathustra. Only a person that has been this can write this. Only a person that has become this can write this. It's the only person, you know. And I know this because I've written it myself. So, you know, and I'm speaking from experience here. So, you cut everything. If you're working on a book or whatever project it is, you're only allowed to use, you know, research, so to speak. It's not research. You get into that book or philosophical book if you need that, or you need this business book or something. The one you need, and the best also, you know, the best of the best. I'm going after Nietzsche. I'm not going after, you know, some mediocre philosopher from today, all right, that has produced nothing, that has produced no new thought. While Nietzsche, 100 years ago, and still we find new things there. That is the greats. That is the greats. You go back there, it still grows on you. There's still so much to take from it. That is the greats, all right? So you create something like this, and that is the Great Spirit. And so become this. Don't become this mediocre thing. Don't listen to all this noise, Remove all this noise. Remove it. Focus only on yourself and your task. That's it. And then, once you have this, you know, after 6 months, let's say, you can take Saturdays off. Then on Saturdays, fine, give me your noise. But still, you know, you will be so adapted to your own system, or, you know, your own rhythm of life, that this noise cannot touch you. You stop caring about other people's opinions. You will notice this. You will stop caring about, you know, because you understand and you love, and you're within your own vision, and only that. And only that. And this doesn't matter. You're telling me that you hate this person or whatever it is. He's talking about this person, or she's talking about that, and this person died, and this person got married, and this person said this, and this person. All right. Oh yeah. I'm like, oh right, yeah. And while in my head I'm still thinking about my own project. But it's important to meditate so that you relax your mind as well on Saturdays. So Saturdays will be your socialization day. Only Saturdays, nothing else. Only Saturdays, nothing else. Once you feel you have this as a rhythm, if you can finish your stuff beforehand, you can socialize in the evening. That's a perfect time to eat with others as well, and so forth. But this is only if you have figured it out, all right? When you figured out your habits, your everything. This takes time. This takes a lot of time, all right? Habits are the most, you know, hard thing to figure out. It's easy to figure out, all right, so I love calisthenics, I love to train. All right, so training is my morning routine. That's an easy one. But then once you start implementing more new factors, it becomes harder because, well, by sheer addition, you know? It's math, it's just simple math. So you make it more complex. But we keep it as simple as possible. We try to keep it as simple as possible, not just try. We're going to make it as simple as possible because If it's not joyous and simple, we will just start hating it, and we gotta change. Then something has to change. If it doesn't feel right, if it's not joyous anymore, you have to change it. But the most important thing is to cut things out. Scaling back. You gotta scale back everything in your life. You don't need most things. You don't need anything. And you see, that's why, we have this, I always talk about, over commercialization and over consumption, that we have an overconsumption culture and all that stuff, but we have this in everything, even in philosophy and intellectualism, even in artistry. You can do this, and you watch these piano people on YouTube, you watch people drawing, and why are you watching these people instead of drawing your own stuff? If that's your talent. If it's not, I understand that you do this for entertainment, but you can't have both. All right, that's your lower desire. That lower entertainment is your lower desire. Your higher desire will always be, I want to create that book. I've always had this book in me. I know I have this book in me. I know that I have something to give to the world. Then give it. Start giving. That was my conclusion after my first book, actually. Giving. I just want to give now. I just want to give, and you will have all these forms of realizations through your path, and it will change. Everything changes. Don't let anyone say that, stop changing your mind and so forth. You have to change your mind to adapt yourself, to sculpt yourself. You have to change yourself all the time. And these patterns won't be, but of course you gotta stay consistent. You gotta stay consistent in your action. But you gotta, always change a little bit. So there's always the principle of change behind everything, behind everything here. It's still training here, but you're always, all right, so I'm doing 5 more repetitions on, let's say, commando pull-ups. So, and you do this with everything, all right? But training is the best analogy because you can't cheat there. You either get results or you don't get results. And you're either put in the work or you don't put in the work. So you got to put in the work with everything. It is very hard to do these, dopamine fasts because of all the noise. We have so much information. It's incredible. Not just incredible. I mean, it's both incredible and it's also a detriment to the human condition, the human spirit. We have too much, and we don't have too much. We lack self-parenting, or we don't have to even call it self-parenting. We lack developing character. We lack character. We all lack, well, most people, almost all people lack character. And lacking character doesn't just mean, oh, this person is tough. It's not just about toughness. It's about adaptation. All right, we learned this from Darwin. The fittest means, it doesn't mean the fittest survives. That means the best adapters survives. All right, the best adapters survives, and those who keep on pushing, having an inner will to greatness. Those are the ones, or as Nietzsche says, a will to power. That is it. That is it. All right, so that's the video today. Keep on working on yourself. Keep on focusing on yourself. Everything will be great. Everything will be fine. And if you have problems, contact me down below. Contact me wherever you want to. Message me on Facebook, wherever you want to. Email me. And I will see you tomorrow.